Good morning, students. So now I come up with a brand new class of class 12 history. All of you know that we are dealing with chapter 2, and in my last class we have talked about new notions of kingship, where we have discussed about the southern kingdoms like the Cholas, like the Cheras, Pandyas, and their notion of kingship, that how they have thought about taking the sanction or taking the green signal from the divinity and talking about them, or while they used to mention themselves in a public affair, they used to use the divine names to know themselves, to declare themselves. Okay, so today we will see that from the time period of 6th century BCE up to 6th century AD or CE, what are the changes we can see in the countryside. So today's topic is change in countryside. Okay, so we will see that during the time period of 6th century BCE up to 6th century CE, what are the changes we can notice in ancient India in the countryside. Okay, the first thing we came to know about that during this time there was a popular notion of king, that previously there was a group leader. The concept was a group leader or maybe a village headman. But now onwards, when the Mahajanapadas were there, when the states were there like Magad and other states like the Cholas and Pandyas were created, the concept of a king was there. Now, when I am a king, when the king is sitting on his throne and he is ruling the state, he doesn't have the idea that what the people are talking about him, what the people are thinking about him. And this is the reason why sometimes we can see that kings, they took a disguise, they go through a disguise and went in the streets, went to the villages, markets, and they used to communicate with the people to know, to learn that what people are thinking about the government. Because nowadays we have the newspapers or news channels to criticize the government. We can say that these policies of the government we don't like, and the government, if they want, they can rectify themselves. But in those times there was no newspaper, there was no news channels. How the government will know that whether their ruling process, their ruling system is liked by all or not? So one story of the Jataka stories, which is known as the Gandatindu Jatak, tells or describes the plight of the subjects of a wicked king. And this king, he went through a disguise and to find out what his subjects they thought about him, and he found out that his subjects, they are not really happy with him, and then he tried to change himself. So this story of a Gandatindu Jatak tells us maybe that this is how the kings, they used to change their system, change their ruling style or whatever. And you may know that if you have watched the movie called Jodha Akbar, there also you can see that Akbar is doing like this. And in that movie it was shown that Akbar went in disguise in a market, and where he heard about the jizya and all, and then he abolishes the jizya. In the movie you can see that, you can watch that. So like that in ancient period also, people or the kings, they used to come, right? This is one. Number two is a strategy of increasing production, because we are talking about a period when the main source of economy or the main source of income was agriculture. And if you don't invest in the field, if you don't invest in the agriculture, the production will not be very high, right? So that means that time there was no scientific fertilizers or scientific methods were there through which they can increase the production. But still they used some strategies to increase the production of the agricultural products. Like in class 11 you have read about Europe and how they have increased their production. So here also the same kind of things were used, like one is an iron tipped plowshare. Iron tipped plowshare was used to turn the topsoil very nicely, very importantly, the topsoil was removed and the agricultural products were increased. Another way of the strategies were irrigation. Irrigation, because India was a country of monsoon. So in some places of India, they are mostly arid or semi-arid. So in those areas, on those parts of the land, on those parts of the country, the irrigation is very important, and the irrigation was done mostly through canals and wells. So it was done. Now I have a land, I have done irrigation, I have done the plowshares, everything is there. Now what is the deal between the king and the subject, or the king and the peasants? What are the deals regarding the land? Now we will talk about the land grants. The land grants. What is a land grant? Land grant means a gift of a land. So everybody has got a gift of a land? No, definitely not. In ancient India, in the time which we are talking about, in those time, those people who got a land grant were exceptionally something better than the rest. In some cases, those people were either artists or poets or musicians or dancers or religious people. They were given a land, definitely tax-free land, revenue-free land by the government, and in that land they can do the agriculture and they can do whatever they want. Now whenever land grant, we can understand, and what is the process of land grant? Like, I am a king, I am giving the land to you, but now I am dead, my son is there, my son is coming and they are asking the land back from you. And they are saying, he is saying that you don't own this land, give me back the land. Then you must have a document which says that yes, this land belongs to you, right? Today in Bengali we call it as dolil, which is a document of a land or a property of anything, right? So like that, a grant was always written. It was written that so and so is giving land to so and so, and these records, these grant letters or these grant inscriptions were kept as a record, as a proof of the land grant. Okay, and now the question comes, who can give the land grant? Definitely the kings, definitely the powerful people, except women. Women could not give land grants. Why? Because they didn't have land. Because property was not given to human being. Property was not given to women. Women was not having the right to own a property. So that's why no women, no queen, no noble woman could give a land grant. But yes, exceptions are also there, that we know about a princess called Prabhavati Gupta, who was the daughter of one of the most important rulers of Indian history, who was Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty. This Prabhavati Gupta, she used to own a huge amount of land because she is a princess. Definitely, as she was a princess, she had a lot of property and those property was given. Except these princes, other women, they did not have any access to land. Okay, now we have understood this. So we also have to keep this in mind, that with this growing up of land strategy, with this growing up land grants, something else is also growing up, that is the trade. the trade networks of India and the trade networks of the subcontinent was growing up. And to compare with this, to continue with this, one very important development came during this time, that is the use of coins, the use of a medium of purchase. Previously it was a barter system. You give me potatoes, I'll give you rice. You give me milk, I'll give you meat. It was a barter system. But now onwards there was the invention of coins, and different coins were used in India. And in India for the first time, the coin which was used, it was known as punch marked coins. And this is, yes, from the name also you can get it that it's a punch mark, means yes, it's a punch. So with there is a mold and you just press it over it, punch it over it, and the coin is ready. So the first used coins were the punch marks coins, which were seen during the Mauryan period and Ashokan period, and later on during the Gupta period, India first saw the usage of gold coins. So with the gold coins we can understand that the economy of their empire, of their period, was high, very, very high. And the study of coins tell us many things. It's also a segment of history which is known as numismatics. Numismatics, it's a study of coins through which we can understand, we can learn about empires, kings, and so on and so on. And you can even believe that in India there are some empires from whose identification, whose history has been reconstructed, has been possible to be reconstructed from only the coins. They are the Parthian kings. The Parthian kings of northwestern side of India, they have only the coins remained. Every detail of their history has been shattered. So that's why the study of coins are very important. So in my next class, I will complete the chapter by talking about the inscriptions. So till then, thank you.